My name is Fiona, and I currently work at an independent secondary school in West London, based in Ealing, St Benedict School. And my role there at the school is on the senior leadership team is deputy head academic. So what does that mean in sort of real terms, practical terms? It means that I'm in charge of all of the quality of teaching and learning in the school. So not just the quality of teaching in the classrooms by teachers, but also enabling and helping our students to learn in the most effective way possible. And with that, I lead a team of about 25 heads of department. So these are heads of department in charge of their different subject areas. So, for example, head of English, head of maths, head of biology, head of chemistry. So I have a team of 25 that report in directly to me and that I line manage. I have formal line management responsibility for. And a big part of my job is not just setting the standards and helping to support with professional development and latest research into kind of effective pedagogy, classroom practice, teaching styles, teaching methods, but also enabling learners to learn and revise and memorize material in the most efficient way possible. So I bring in quite a lot of my cognitive neuroscience psychology background there as well. I taught for 8 years, and then I had a break. I went part-time and I went back and I completed a diploma in psychology and then a master's in occupational psychology. And after I did that, I took about a 10-year break from teaching and I went into consultancy and I worked as a chartered occupational psychologist. So that means I was involved in recruitment, assessment, selection for organizations, but I was also involved very much on training and development side. So I was involved in a lot of sort of leadership development workshops, training seminars, and I was also involved in some team coaching and one-to-one coaching as well. So I was heavily involved in that sort of line of work. And that was during my break from teaching, funnily enough. So that was where I came across coaching and really understood not just how to go about being a coach, but also the incredible benefits that can come off the back of that. Actually, not just for the coachee, not just for the person being coached, but also for the coach themselves as well in terms of skill development and reflection and all of those good things. So it was in that break that I had from teaching. I then decided to go back into education just after my daughters started primary school. So I went back in as a head of department. And then I moved 8 years ago to my current role as deputy head academic on the senior leadership team at another independent secondary school. So I really came across coaching in that break, if you like. But I have used coaching and the applications, I suppose, and coaching style, approach to coaching, all of the skills around coaching. I've used that so much in my current role as a member of the senior leadership team. So I decided, oh gosh, it would have been about 3 or 4 years ago, I signed up to a one-day coaching skills course. And actually, the person leading that was Kim Wells. Okay. So I first came across Kim on that course and he was leading and facilitating that. And I was really impressed. And on the back of that, I invited Kim in to St Benedict School, where I currently work. And he basically did an hour and a half kind of masterclass, if you like, workshop with all of the secondary school teaching staff on coaching skills and coaching approach and applications of coaching as teachers. And then I also asked him back in and he completed 2 one-day workshops with 2 different groups of staff who were interested in becoming more advanced in developing their coaching skills. So that was just after the pandemic. So that was July 2022 and July 2023. He came in for those one days. So we have a group of staff, I would say probably about 20 staff who have undertaken his in-house one-day coaching course on coaching skills as well. So I've known Kim for about 3 or 4 years. And then on the back of a conversation we were having, he mentioned that he and Tracy were setting up this coaching skills for educators course. And he said, Fiona, I think you'd really love it. And it would be a chance for you to take your coaching skills to the next level. So I did. So that was the 3-day course. And because I'd had a lot of experience and contact with Kim and rated Kim very highly, he said, I'm working with an amazing person, Tracy, who's really fantastic. And I did my research and decided to sign up. So that's how I came about to undertaking I think it's the module 1 of the coaching Skills for Educators course. It was quite nicely timed, and it was a chance to meet the other people on the course who were also operating and working at a similar level to myself in different schools. So that was great. The gaps between each of the 3 days worked really well, and it wasn't too onerous at all. The kind of in-between work that we had to do was very practical. And, the additional reading that was recommended, you could take or leave that depending on what your level of experience was and how much you'd already been exposed to coaching. So there was quite a lot of flexibility in meeting you where you were at in terms of your prior knowledge and experience and skills. What the course has done is validated and helped me sort of fine-tune, refine, if you like, my coaching skills. I'd already had exposure in a kind of formal life. So I was sort of practicing, or I was using a coaching approach and those incredibly important skills of powerful listening and questioning. One of the most practical ways is when you're having one-to-ones with your students, you're having interim reviews on their progress and how they're going. Using a coaching approach is really, really important and works really well for teenagers. So I've sort of specialized in the 16 to 18-year-old age group. And using a coaching approach is absolutely brilliant in getting them to reflect, to understand themselves, their motivations, what they're struggling with, what they need to do to break through and help to overcome sometimes issues to do with motivation and discipline and those sorts of things. So first and foremost in the classroom, as a practitioner, that's how I was using it. I think the other key way as a teacher and educator is actually when you're having parent meetings as well. So you meet the parents to discuss student progress. And at that age, it is with the students themselves as well. So you're in this dynamic. You're in this discussion about progress and areas for focus, if you like, with the student, the person that you're teaching, or you might not be teaching them. In my role as a senior leader, quite often I'll have meetings with parents and students, particularly students who are really struggling, not making the progress that we would wish them to be making. We'll bring the parents in. Sometimes the parents will request those meetings or will request those meetings with parents and their children. So in that type of format, actually having a coaching approach and really being able to ask those really, really key questions, both to the student, but also or bringing in their parents in that discussion is really, really powerful way of troubleshooting, problem solving, trying to get underneath what the issues are, and then exploring options and solutions together to move forward. If you're thinking about the dynamic between the parents and their child and parents, there might be issues there. There might be issues as well, particularly if mum and dad are in the room and if there's any acrimony in that relationship. So it can be very, very delicate balancing act. Really requires you to be able to read the room, to read kind of body language, to look at what's going on in terms of the parents and their child's interaction, because often that's the first experience you've had of everyone in the room together. So that being able to use a coaching approach and adapt and be in the moment, I think being in the present moment, I think is really, really important, and being able to respond in a very caring and a very sensitive but in an appropriately challenging way as well. And that only comes with experience. But I think Tracy and Kim's course, actually, just thinking about it, was a real reminder of how important it is to be. Yes, you have to have these skills of listening and questioning, but you also have to be powerfully present in the moment and to be able to just adapt to the situation as it unfolds in front of you. And sometimes they're very easy conversations, but sometimes they're incredibly tricky and very sensitive. So I think that's the two key areas of using coaching skills from the point of view of a teacher, I would say, possibly a senior leader. And in my leadership role, I use it all the time when I'm talking to members of my team. So if I'm meeting with a head of department and we're exploring some issues, or they've got an issue or problem with a member of their team or something that they need to overcome, the one-to-ones, the informal conversations, that coaching approach, that coaching style. So it's at the same time caring, it's empathic, it's supporting, it's supportive, but it's professional and it's developmental. And I as much a critical friend, if that makes sense, in those conversations. So I use it basically is my fundamental leadership style, I would say, having a coaching approach. And that has worked really well. I mean, I've been in the role for 8 years now, and I know that they trust me. I know that I've just had my appraisal, 360 appraisal, so I know they trust me. I know I've built that credibility. They know I have their back, and they know that I'm a professional, I suppose, facilitator and enabler of them coming up with their own solutions to the issues that they're facing with their teams. If they've got a difficult parent complaint to deal with, we talk through that. We explore options together, those sorts of things. So it's very, very powerful in a leadership capacity. That's what I would say. I use it all the time. I can't think of any other, I guess, framework or mechanism, if you like, that leads to enhanced self-awareness. So someone being able to build their own self-awareness or push through something or have an aha moment, reflecting on how they tend to view things in the world or their perspective or their perceptions, having those challenged. It really is such an incredibly powerful tool for individual growth and self-awareness. Really, really is. I would 100% recommend it. I think you get so much out of it, not only in terms of building your own skills to be more of an effective coach, but in terms of your own self-awareness, how you tend to kind of view the world. You get so much out of it from that point of view because you coach each other. So you're not only practicing coaching skills and practicing all those incredibly important things about being in the moment. You become more aware of, for example, of your own personal biases, your unconscious biases. That's a big part of actually being coached as well. And also being a coach, Tracy and Kim are absolutely fantastic in helping you to kind of uncover that and be more aware of that. And then how does that impact on sorts of questions that you tend to ask? What's going on in your mind when you're coaching somebody and they might come back to you and they might say something, and our brains are very, very quick to kind of form a judgment or to make assumptions. And actually the power of their course in particular, it's called the Science and Art of Coaching, which I think is beautiful actually, because it isn't just about a framework. It isn't just about a process and implementing that. It's as much about your own self-awareness and understanding yourself within that. So things like uncovering your biases, being really conscious of when that's likely to happen, in what situations, what will trigger your brain to start going into judgment mode or into making assumptions, and then being able to pull yourself back. So that's what I mean by building the self-awareness in you as the coach, as well as if you are being coached. I think that their course is terrific in terms of the balance of that. So I'd really highly recommend it. It's one thing finding out about the grow model and, for example, using that as a framework, as a kind of process, if you like, as a methodology, but it's everything underneath that. You as a human being are the medium through which you're applying a coaching model. So you have to be aware of your intrinsic biases, your unconscious biases, and how is that playing out in your role as coach. And that's what the course gives you.